This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so welcome to Greek 1, Session 4. Tonight we're going to continue to expand our vocabulary, and we're going to learn a little bit more about pronunciation. So, first off, does anyone have any questions about any of the vocabulary that we've already gone over? Anything you don't understand? Anything you don't know why it's pronounced that way? Okay, so there's just a handful of other things we need to learn before we have a good handle on pronunciation of anything that we come across. So you'll be in that weird situation where you can read any word that you come across, but you'll know what very little of it actually means. So one of the first things we need to talk about is pretty simple. And it's this thing. Does anyone know what that is? The little thing under the W. Yeah, you probably need to sit closer. If you mute it.
Hypo.
It's above it, it's high, below it's hypo.
Yeah.
We get different pronunciations on the meanings and so forth, epidermal, epidural, and all that.
So,
Yeah, it's
you guys tell that this looks an awful lot like that.
Huh.
Yep. And what is this? It's an iota. So whenever you have this, it's called an iota subscript. An iota subscript is under a vowel. And the main thing for you to remember is it's not pronounced. Okay? It is important to know when it's there, and it's important whenever it goes and comes away from there, but it's not pronounced. And technically, it is something called an imperfect diphthong. An imperfect diphthong is one of those things that might be a weird piece of trivia that someone might ask you to reproduce to them in a series of questions in an organized manner. Okay? Right now, that's all you really need to know is that it is an iota subscript. There is a certain case called the dative that uses the iota subscript, and it's very quick to recognize it because it uses that. But for right now, you just need to know it doesn't affect pronunciation. So we have learned all the letters. We haven't learned quite all of the sounds yet. So I just showed this word Does anyone know what a diphthong is? Anyone? Can everyone hear that?
Yeah, we can hear you good. We just have no answer.
Well, somebody here said it, but I don't think you could hear it. So a diphthong is two vowels that come together to make a unique sound, different than what either one of them make on their own. Okay? So in Greek, there are 7 or 8, depending on how you count them. A few of them don't come up that often. The last one, why I say is 7 or 8, comes back to that thing I taught you, that eta is an E-class vowel. So one of them is epsilon upsilon, and the other one is eta upsilon. And there's a debate whether or not this is actually the same diphthong, but because of some contraction rules, that epsilon has actually lengthened. Okay. There are 7 main ones that you have to know. So the first one is alpha iota. Anyone want to guess what alpha iota sounds like? Have one vote for A. Have another vote for I.
What's your vote? You voting for I? So I say A. A,
One like Peggy.
mm-hmm.
What's they supposed to decide to have?
All right. So it's the I sound in aisle. And we've already learned one word that has this. Chi. So it sounds like a long I sound in English. The next one is epsilon iota. Anyone know what this one sounds like?
A?
Yep, it's the E. It's the EI sound that's in 8. And the most important word that has this in it is the word ace, which I have told some people here is the most exegetically significant Greek word. And we'll talk about why probably in the fall. But right now, you just need to know that's how you pronounce it. For those curious, this word usually means into. Sometimes means for. Next one is Omicron iota. Anyone want to guess what this one is? Someone here said it. It's oi, as in oil. And a common word for this is oikia. That's the word for house. Next one is alpha upsilon. Alpha upsilon is the AU sound that's in sauerkraut. Both here and here. And the word for this one which is going to be one of our vocabulary words that we do tonight, is autos. Anyone know what autos means? Okay, you got it muted. Okay. Autos is the Greek pronoun. So particularly autos is he. You also have alte, which is she, tauta, which is it. Whenever we go through words like this, I'm going to give you all three versions just so you're aware of them. It's not ever going to be a huge issue for memorization because I'm always going to give you all three versions whenever I give you a vocabulary question. And I'm never going to ask you for the Greek. But I just want you to be aware of this, and this are all part of the same paradigm. That's a word that's going to become important in the near future. The next one is Omicron Upsilon. Any guesses on this one? So this is the OU sound in soup. Another one of our words for tonight is ooh. Ooh is the indicative form. I don't need you to necessarily know what that means exactly yet. I just want to introduce you to the concept. It's the indicative form of not or no. Because we're going to learn another word that's the non-indicative form of not or no. Both of these words appear more than 900 times in the New Testament, so it's a word that we need to go ahead and learn. The next one is Upsilon iota. Upsilon iota is the UI sound as in sweet. And I'll tell you, whenever this sound starts a word, it ends up sounding kind of like a W. Almost like we. Okay. So this is the word huios. Huios is sun. This isn't a vocabulary word. It's just a word that has it in it. And then the last one is epsilon upsilon slash eta upsilon. This is like the EU in feud. And a word that includes this is euthus. Euthus is Mark's favorite word. It means immediately. All right. So going back over them again. I, a, oi, owl, oo, we, oo.
Which one?
Always.
Hey, Quentin, can you go back over the oi one more time?
Oi is like oil.
Oil. Yeah.
Oil.
Okay.
Yes, the way you're actually supposed to pronounce that word. If you normally pronounce it ol, you're going to have a little bit of trouble. Or oink. That one works too. Yeah, boil, although they say bowl too. I don't know anybody who says oink though. So I think oink works. Okay. So just a couple of other things. So we've done these diphthongs now. Now, whenever you normally see this together, that is supposed to be the oi sound. The exception to that is if it happens to have this, which is called the diacrasis, on top of it. In that case, you pronounce it as the individual letters. So this would be a-i. Does not come up that often. In fact, almost all the words that I know that have that in it are transliterations from Aramaic or Hebrew. But I know like Cyrus's name is that way. And there's one other one that it's usually names that I've seen it in. It's not terribly common. And I don't, as far as I know, it's not in any of the memory words that we're going to be having. So that one's not too terribly important, just something for you to recognize that when you see that, it means pronounce the letters individually and not as a diphthong. Now this is important. What is the difference between these two words? Roderick says there's a C and a backwards C. I concur. This is something called a breathing mark. A breathing mark tells you how to pronounce the first letter. It can be over vowels and over a row at the beginning of the sentence. Okay. If it starts with one vowel, it is over that vowel. If it starts with a diphthong, it's over the second letter in the diphthong. A leftward facing breathing mark changes pronunciation none. You basically just pronounce it the way that it is written. Okay. So if it starts with an alpha, it's ah. If it starts with an omicron, it's ah. Starts with an iota, it's I. Okay. On the other hand, if it starts with a rightward facing, it is pronounced like an H. Okay. So the phonetic spelling of the word hot would be like that.
Is it always pronounced as an H?
If it's rightward facing, it's always pronounced as an H.
I have a question.
Yes.
When a row is involved, like in the word rabbi, does the H come after the R or does it come before?
It starts with a puff of air.
So it's like
Rabbi.
rabbi.
Not terribly common, probably never going to actually affect anything that you're reading, but it's a good thing to ask test questions about. And Victoria here mentioned that it's at the beginning of rabbi, there's quite a few Semitic words that do start that way.
So why is it transliterated RH?
Hmm?
Why is it transliterated RH instead of HR?
Because we don't use that sound in English.
Okay.
That's.
But you would pronounce it rabbi.
Rabbi. It'd actually be rabbi.
Rabbi.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So did you say it puts an H sound before whatever letter it is?
So the vowel. Okay. It'll only be over a vowel or a row. A good example that comes up a lot is this word. Anyone know how you pronounce that?
Hades?
Hades, but yes, it's Hades. So if you're looking for, I saw somebody get really frustrated one time because they couldn't find Hades in a lexicon. It's because they were looking under, or trying to look under H. Well, there is no H. It's under alpha. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yes, and this occurs at the
Yes.
beginning.
This only occurs at the beginning of a word. Every word that begins with a vowel or a row will have a breathing mark. Okay?
What's the other breathing mark for?
Victoria's asking, what's the point? And I haven't named these. This is the smooth breathing. This is the rough breathing. What is the point of the smooth breathing? Nothing.
Why do you have it?
To show that it's not a rough breathing. So whenever they were writing back then and preserving paper, and everything was at the beginning, this is what I've been told. If you have all your words in what's called the uncials, those are the all capital letter manuscripts, the only way to distinguish the next word sometimes is the breathing mark. So whenever you see the breathing mark, you know that it's a new word. Now, the complicated thing about that is a lot of the oldest manuscripts don't have breathing marks. So was this something that came out of people having difficulty and just made it easier to read? Or was it something that was commonly in use and was left out of some of the earliest ones because it did take up paper? So.
Also, doesn't like the breathing mark go before a capital letter
Yeah,
instead of
it's-
on top of it?
The way I've got it drawn here is if you have a capital, instead of going on top of it, it goes before it. If it starts with a diphthong and it's capitalized, it still goes over the second letter. Okay, just a couple other things that I want to teach you because they don't have a good place to talk about them in the rest of the course, is the way that the punctuation marks work in Greek. Okay. So the first punctuation mark is a period. A period is the same as an English period. Okay. So that's the first one. The second one. So I'll put, this is Greek, this is English. The second one is a semicolon. Okay, so the equivalent to an English semicolon is a dot above the line. So it's basically you take this and remove it. This comes up a whole lot in Greek, a whole lot more than it does in English, because the word order in Greek can be in any order. You can have sentences that have very many words in it and several clauses without having to worry about the grammar as much. The next one is a question mark. The Greek question mark is a semicolon. And a comma is a comma. Other things like quotation marks are the same. The one thing that they don't have as formally as we do in English is a colon. When there would be a colon, or whenever we would think of there being a colon, or like a dash, something like that, where there's like an interruption in thought, it's usually they use the semicolon equivalent dot. That doesn't come up that often in Greek. Most of the time, whenever you see something like that, it's where they have changed it in English so it makes more sense to the English reader. That's not a concept that's terribly common in the Greek New Testament. Okay, some new words. The first one I already mentioned was autos. Now, based on the way that I said that, would this word have a smooth breathing or a rough breathing? It has a smooth breathing. Over which letter would the breathing mark go? The upsilon. Okay. And altos, for the purpose of what we're doing, means he. As I said before, it's altos, alte, tauta, so he, she, it. And then as we go down the paradigm, you get all of the other forms, the him, the her, his, all those type things. But for vocabulary, I just need you to know that altos means he.
Hey, Quentin,
Yes.
why would the breathing mark be over the upsilon? I think I missed that.
Because that's a diphthong. And it always goes over the second letter of the diphthong. Generally, if it starts with two vowels, it'll be over the second one. That's the easiest way to remember it. Okay? The next word, as I already mentioned, is oo. And oo means not. Any questions over that? Now, the next one we need to, and we'll do this one first. Because we just did that one, we'll also do this one. This is may. May also means not. Now, where would the breathing mark go on may?
Why are there two words for now?
We'll get to that. So may starts with a consonant, so there is no breathing mark. So I put this earlier. Oo is the indicative not. May is the non-indicative not. And a difference between English and Greek is in English, whenever we use two negative words, it makes it mean a positive. In Greek, if you use both oo and may together, it makes it extra negative. So this is the second most negative thing that you can say in Greek. Anyone have any idea what the most negative you can be in Greek?
Mhm.
Eumegenesis. You don't need to know this, but it's just kind of an interesting little thing. Eumegenesis is one of Paul's favorite phrases in Romans. That's generally translated as "may it never be." So, gnosko is the word for to become. So, extra negative. May it not ever become. It's the strictly literal translation of that. Something I'll have you point out there. The King James translates that "God forbid." God's name is not mentioned anywhere in that phrase, and it's one of the reasons why I really don't like that it does that. And everyone brags about how the King James is a super literal translation. That is an extreme example of translating meaning over translating word for word. Because I'll tell you, that actually is probably the meaning that's trying to be conveyed whenever Paul says that. But for something that claims to be a very literal translation, the King James misses it completely on that particular one. Kurios. Does anyone know what kurios means?
Lord.
Lord. Next word, let's see. Anyone in Woodbury want to try to pronounce this word?
Okay, you want to try it?
Is it Umar? Yeah, has the,
The name,
the
the name,
No, it's not or. That's
It's still
the
writing
eight.
A sound.
That's diphthong is gonna be 8.
what's the,
That's
We got the
is a-
M.
Sue,
So Amy, Amy,
EIS is EIW.
So, Amy.
Amy.
Anyone know what it means?
Amen.
We don't have one here now.
says amen.
I mean, amen, I don't know what it is.
Oh,
Amy means I am.
What you got, Sam?
Hey, Quinn,
Yes.
the UI there in AME,
That's a mu.
since that's not at the beginning, so it wouldn't have that W sound,
It's not a U. It's not an upsilon. It's a mu.
okay,
you.
okay.
Him.
Okay, I was looking at it as a epsilon. Sorry about that.
No. Okay. I'm going to teach you your first Greek sentence. Pros Abraham ein ami. Anyone want to take a gander of what that translates to?
Before Abraham?
Okay.
I am.
Pros is before. Pros Abraham, before Abraham. Hain is actually it's an aorist form of ami, which means it's the past. So this says, before Abraham was, I am. There you go. You can read full Greek sentences now. Aren't you proud of yourself? Next week, we're going to read all of the Genesis account of creation in Greek from the Septuagint. Not really. Septuagint Greek is actually harder than New Testament Greek. Not by a lot, but it's got some weird tenses because it tries to translate Hebrew tenses, which doesn't always work. Okay. The next word is hutas. Anyone know what hutas means? This one's a little bit less of something I would expect people to know.
Like hour or day or something like that.
So the other forms are hautes and tuta. The technical term for this is the near demonstrative. That's a very, very pretentious way of saying this. The reason I say it's technically the near demonstrative is whenever you get, whenever we start learning the different forms, it also is the word for these whenever you start changing the form of it. But hutas itself means this. This.
Oh, this. Or this. I thought you wrote it down. Okay.
Okay. Woodbury gets another shot at this one. How do you pronounce this one?
Is it?
I'm guessing, I believe it's amen.
Amen?
That's what it means. Is
Amen.
how would you say it?
Amen.
How do you pronounce an Ada?
A long A, pray. So amen.
Amen. Amen.
So
Amen.
we transliterate it to get amen. Probably the best translation is truly. Verily is kind of the older English way of translating it. But like any of the phrases where Jesus says, truly, truly, I say unto you, that's amen, amen. And sometimes I've seen that phrase, amen, amen. The newer versions are translating it, I tell you the truth. I think any of those would be acceptable. The idea is kind of like us saying, I really mean this. It's that idea. Whenever someone says that, it's like saying this is the gospel truth. It's that idea that's being conveyed when this word is used. So whenever we say it, after someone says a prayer or says something in a sermon that we appreciate, we're saying that is definitely true. Whenever we close a prayer with this word, we're saying this is truth as well as I know it. Been using a word your whole life and not actually knowing what it meant. Okay. Trying to figure out what the other ones I picked out for tonight. The next word is Lego. Lego my ego. Lego is the word for I say. In Greek, what we're learning is something called the lexical form. The lexical form is the dictionary form. Whenever you see words, if it's a noun, it's always the first person, it's the nominative singular form. Okay? If it's an adjective, it's the nominative singular masculine form. If it's a verb, it's the first person singular present. Whenever we learn a verb, what we are going to learn is I and then the verb. It'll always start out with I and the verb. If you were to put on a test and forget the I wouldn't count off for it, but I want you to get in the habit of whenever you talk about the definition, it's I say. because if you have the word, the verb by itself, that's technically a different form of the word other than the lexical form. Okay? Lego, I say. And you can kind of see how, kind of etymologically, there's a connection between Lego and Logos. So if you said Lego, ha, Logos, that's I say the word. Anyone have any questions about lexical forms? Is that fairly straightforward? Does everybody understand?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So so this would be like in whatever form you're saying here.
Mm-hmm.
The first person singular. Okay, so when you look this up, in a lexicon, would it appear in all the other forms?
No. They expect you to know that.
So you would just find this.
You would just find this.
Okay.
Most of the time, what we're going to be doing, so Victoria asked you if you would find the other forms of the word. Unless they're irregular, there are a few irregular forms that they will show what the irregular forms look like. Usually it'll just have this with the kind of expectation that you know what the rest of the paradigm looks like because they assume that you know Greek. What we're going to be doing most in this class, especially in the after we finish just this vocabulary section, is parsing. Whenever you parse a Greek word, what you try to do is figure out what is the word doing in the sentence and what does the word come from. So one of the things we'll be doing is trying to figure out, okay, this word is now, actually, let's do this one. Legusi. I think that's circumflex there. Legusi is they say. Whenever we parse this word, what we'll be looking at is we try to figure out the root, and then we look at the ending. The root tells you what the word means. The ending tells you what the word's doing. If you pick up a Greek New Testament right now, you're probably going to flip through and see some of these words, or at least words that look similar. And the reason why they'll possibly look a little bit different than what I'm teaching you is because they are doing a certain role in the sentence. So you don't have to say, autos lege. That's, or autos lego, I guess. You wouldn't say he, I say. You would just say either lege, which is he, she, or it says. Or you would say autos lege, which is he says. You would never say autos lego. Things have to match one another in form. Okay.
I have one more question. So if you're looking at an interlinear, does it give the exact form of what you're reading? Or does it give a lexical form?
So The question was, if you're looking at an interlinear, are you seeing the lexical form or are you seeing the actual word? And the answer to that is it depends.
Okay.
So a regular interlinear Bible, like one that's based on UBS 3, which a lot of you guys had from when you took Greek before, that is the Greek New Testament with English under it. If you have something called a reverse interlinear, depending on which one of you have, most of those have the lexical form under them. Sometimes they will have the actual parsed, or I guess the word, is there a word for that? The sentence form. They'll have the proper form in some of them. I have seen both. Usually, if you're going to get one that's a little bit more expensive, is the one that's going to have it parsed. If you're taking Greek, I really think that you'd be better off to buy the regular interlinear instead of the reverse interlinear, because it helps you actually see what the word's doing in the sentence. Because really the point of learning Greek is understanding how the different tenses work together. I'm missing words from my list. This word is echo. Echo means I have. Okay. This is the last one for tonight. And this one will be spelled a couple different ways, just because it's so common. This is Jesus. And you pronounce it kind of quick, so it's like a long E, a Jesus. Jesus. And it ends up sounding kind of like a Y, which this is the Greek transliteration of Yeshua. Jesus. Okay.
The accent on the second.
This. So sometimes you can see there, I've got a circumflex over the upsilon. Sometimes it will be a circumflex over the upsilon. Sometimes it will be in what's called an acute. I didn't go over this because I kind of wanted to hold off this discussion, but there are 3 types of accent marks in Greek. This is called an acute. It can be on any one of the last 3 syllables. This is called a circumflex. It can be on any one of the last 2 syllables and is always over a long vowel sound. Not necessarily a long vowel, but a long vowel sound. So like you saw in that one, it's over the second letter of that diphthong. And the last one is called a grave. A grave is facing the other way from the acute. So the acute, last 3. Circumflex, last 2. Grave, last.
Last 2 or 3 what?
Syllables.
But don't some occur right on the very first syllable?
Hmm?
Doesn't it occur on the first syllable?
If it's a 3-syllable word, it's still the last. If it's the first syllable in a 3-syllable word, it's still the last 3 syllables.
I get it. Is the circumflex the same thing as like
The squiggly line?
you know, like a tilde or whatever? That's
Yeah.
called?
So you'll see that in some fonts, instead of a circumflex, there's what looks like a tilde from Spanish. That's because computers can't make this shape very well. It's hard to introduce that into a font because it takes up extra space on the line.
Okay, are we gonna have to know and understand the different ones?
No.
Okay.
That's why I didn't say anything about them yet. You do not need to know anything about these.
I mean, ever.
I will.
I mean, ever as far as like which one you use
No.
when.
I could teach you if anybody's really, really interested in how these work, I can teach you. It's really just something dumb I learned once that's taking up space in my brain right now. In Attic Greek, it matters. In Koine Greek, it does not. If you're curious of why there's 3 different ones, it used to be that these had a sound associated with them. So the acute here would be a rise in pitch. The circumflex was a rise in pitch followed by a dip in pitch. And the last one is you start at a high pitch and go to a lower pitch. Those pronunciations are, for all intents and purposes, lost. There's been some people who've tried to recreate it. It's not the same as what they use in modern Greek, but it's more of a curiosity type thing. There are some rules that explain why it would have different ones, but you can't learn it with the lexical form. The only time you can actually tell the difference between an acute and a grave is in a sentence. You will never see a grave on a lexical form because it doesn't exist in the lexicon. It only exists in a sentence. Next week's quiz. So this week's quiz has 3 questions. Next week's quiz will have 9 questions.
Can you give this vocabulary or what
No.
you gave us last week?
Last week's. Remember, everything is going to be 1 week behind, so you have 2 weeks to study for whatever quiz we're doing. So this will be tested not next week, but the next week.